Why do some people have premonitions? It is one of life's great mysteries and nobody actually knows why we get them. One common theory is that danger triggers them, and the main purpose of premonitions is to warn us about danger to ourselves and those around us. However, not all premonitions are trying to protect us from danger. Other types of premonitions that people receive come in the form of dreams. But how can a dream predict an event that has not yet happened? Where in some cases the details they experienced in real time were an exact reenactment of their dream. How is their mind able to tap into the future? It tells us that there is so much more to life than we currently know. The following are 5 dreams that people had that were not warnings but predicted good fortune and good luck. Fateh Ozcan, United Kingdom. Fateh was a waiter at a Turkish restaurant in York, in the northeast of the UK. Fateh had a dream that he was showing his manager, Hayati Kokokolu, his lottery winnings, and was holding it out in front of him. He was so convinced by his dream that the next day he persuaded his manager to enter the lottery, where they went to the supermarket and purchased the ticket. To their utter amazement, their numbers came up and they won the equivalent of $1.7 million. But this is where their troubles began, when the owner decided, because the money came out of his till, it was his money, and refused to share the winnings. Fateh was enraged because it was not for his dream of them winning the lottery. His manager would not have bought a ticket. Fateh decided to take matters further and took the manager to court. At a hearing in London, Judge Mark Gosnell said, "I cannot see why he would be so determined to make his employer play if it was not directly to benefit. It is much more likely that he would badger his employer for hours if his dream was that they had played together and he needed his employer to play for the dream to come true." But Kokokolu insisted the money was all his. However, the judge disagreed, saying because the plaintiff was a strong believer in the power of dreams, he interpreted his own dream to mean that he and Ms. Kokokolu would win the lottery. The judge then viewed a surveillance tape showing the men buying the ticket and picking the numbers together. The judge then summarised by saying, "I find that the effect of these conversations was that Mr. Kokokolu and Mr. Ozcan entered into a contract to jointly play the lottery on an equal basis." The court ruled Fateh Ozcan would receive half of the $1.7 million, where each share came to just over $850,000. Mary Sanderson, United States. Mary was a telephone operator who lived in Manchester, New Hampshire, with her husband Jason. Mary claimed that one night she had a dream where winning numbers in a lottery came to her in that dream. Mary woke up the following morning with the 6 numbers in her head that she immediately wrote down. Later that day, she went to a store in Manchester and purchased a Powerball ticket with the numbers 3, 5, 13, 18, 45, and the Powerball was 20. When the numbers were announced, Mary was shocked when she found that her dream had come true and the numbers had been called out. She'd won the multi-state lottery, claiming $66 million. After winning, Mary immediately quit her job, but her husband Jason said he would keep his job as a printer. Jason also had a hobby where he wrestled for charity under the name The Wolfman. He decided he would also continue to wrestle for charity under that name. Ihsanullah Khan, Pakistan. Ihsanullah was raised by subsistence farmers in a hut in the poor Himalayan town of Battagram. When he was 18, he obtained a visa to work in America and went first to Chicago and later to Washington, D.C. For the next 20 years, he worked very hard in 2 jobs as a security guard and a taxi driver. When he first started working in those jobs, he had dreamt the following numbers: 2, 4, 6, 17, 25, 31, and regularly played those numbers for the following 10 years, hoping that one day his luck would change. Fortunately for Ihsanullah, that lucky day came when he found out that his dream finally came true and that he'd won $55 million Powerball jackpot using those numbers that had come to him in a dream. When he found out, he gave one last cab ride for free. He bought himself a Mercedes 600 and a couple of $1 million mansions in Virginia and Islamabad. However, he was not content to sit on his wealth and decided to return to Pakistan and get involved in politics, where he then returned to his hometown and ran for mayor, and won. Shortly afterwards, his country experienced a catastrophic earthquake which took the lives of more than 70,000 people. Hissanullah brought in medical personnel, food, water and medicine to help his fellow countrymen. It is good to see that when life gave him a break, he was also to pay back some of that luck. Olga Beano, Canada. One day in May 1989, Olga Beano from Nova Scotia, Canada, had a dream that she'd won the lottery and wrote down the numbers from that dream. For the following 29 years, Olga persisted with the numbers, and her patience finally paid off when in January 2017, the numbers in her dream finally came up, where she won $5,366,704. Unfortunately, life can be extremely cruel because a short time after winning the lottery, she was diagnosed with incurable cancer and left the money to her children and grandchildren. Peter Munday, Australia. Peter lived with his young family in Perth, Western Australia, and at the time was a director in an office supply company. In March 1994, he heard about a competition on a local radio station where the prize was an overseas trip to Germany to see Rod Stewart, Joe Cocker, Tina Turner and Prince, and then on to London to see 4 Andrew Lloyd Webber shows. Peter decided to try his luck and enter the competition. A short time after entering the competition, he had a hazy dream that he had won the overseas trip. Then a few days later, he had a second dream that appeared more credible. And then a week later, he had a third dream, and on that occasion, the dream had become much clearer and more detailed. In that third dream, he was standing at the fax machine when his work partner had answered the phone call from the radio station to advise Peter that he had won the trip. Peter felt the dream to be so real that he quickly decided to renew his passport to ensure he was able to take the trip. He then went to the chemist to arrange for the passport renewal, and the woman he spoke to was a friend of his wife. She asked him where they were going, and he said, "Well, I've entered a competition on the radio, and the prize was a trip to Germany and London, and I expect to win it," because he was so certain about his dream. She looked at him strangely, believing he was crazy. He later went to the post office to fill out more paperwork and relayed the same story and got the same reaction, that they believed he was insane. It was just wishful thinking. By the time the competition was announced on the radio, they'd had 30,000 entries, and his odds of winning the competition were overwhelming and extremely unlikely. However, Peter's third dream was about to come true when he was standing at the fax machine and the phone rang, and his work partner then answered the phone. It was accurate and detailed, just like his dream. The call was from the radio station advising Peter that he'd won the overseas trip. The radio announcer was surprised that Peter took the call so calmly and was astounded when Peter told him that although he was extremely excited, he was not too surprised because he was expecting the call.